Well, hello everyone. My name is Ty Abrams, and I'm the founder and CEO of AdmissionSquad. And we are here doing our specialized high school experience interviews. Today, we have one of our former students, John Chandler, who is with us, and he is currently a senior at Stuyvesant High School. And we are so excited to learn more about his journey to getting into a specialized high school, making it into Stuyvesant, successfully making it through Stuyvesant, and he's just about to be out the door. So, John, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you can just go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll jump right into the questions.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ms. Ty. Hi, guys. My name's John Chandler. Like she said, I'm currently a senior at Stuyvesant High School. I'd just say, well, first starting on how I got here, I'm sure some people who are watching this are gonna also have seen the video from a few years ago of me preparing for the SHSAT. I was actually a student in AdmissionSquad as well. I did over, I think it was 26 practice tests until I was getting consistent 700s on them. And then, my efforts eventually paid off and I ended up where I am today. So Stuyvesant has just been, in general, a great place for me, both intellectually and socially. I feel like I've really kind of found who I am, as well as kind of just a community of doers. And I think that's something that is invaluable and I wouldn't have been able to find elsewhere. I think Sty has really, really done me a great service with that.
Awesome. So when you think about support, a lot of times people feel that because of the low percentage of Black and Brown students who place into Stuyvesant, that it's a sink or swim environment. You get in there and you have nowhere to turn. But I know personally that wasn't your experience. So can you just speak to what it was like from day one for you to find your community of support that was able to help you to navigate the school?
Absolutely. So that for me was our school's Black Students League. As the current vice president of our school's Black Students League, or as we call it kind of for shorthand, BSL, I can say that we try to cultivate an environment for the little percentage of Black and Hispanic students that we do have at this school to project their voices and make sure that they're heard across the, community of over 3,000 Stuyvesant students. When I first came to Stuyvesant, the first experience I had was of me posting a picture of the Stuyvesant Bridge kind of by the entrance, or, as other people might call it, just the Tribeca Bridge, and getting called a racial slur on it for it on Instagram. And, that kind of discouraged me at first, I can't lie. But from that, I realized the importance of kind of just getting involved with my community in order to make sure that things didn't happen to me again. So I ended up joining our club's our school's Black Students League as soon as possible. And there I was kind of introduced into a community of Black students who were also just as gifted and motivated as me, who also shared kind of the same experiences with racism as me. So, together we kind of just grew, and, kind of that collaborative growth really propelled me into places that I never thought I would be able to, lead in. So one of those would be obviously as leadership for BSL this year, and last year as I was the director of communications before. But it's also given me the strength to be one of the city's diversity, equity, and inclusion student faculty leaders. So what that entails is every 4 months or so, I, along with a few other students from other schools across the city, meet in order to discuss practices and how to best promote a culture of racial awareness in our schools. I also do a few professional developments and talks around race in our schools and freshmen and to faculty. And without the lessons and the strength that has been gifted to me by our, BSL community, I don't think I would be able to do what I do right now. So to any prospective students or, anyone interested, I always tell people this at the open house. Yes, there is a very small Black and Latino population here at Stuyvesant, but the important thing is we're strong in spite of it. Despite our small numbers, our voice echoes throughout the entire community. And at BSL, that's something we'll teach you to.
I love what you're saying here, John, because as much as we're all going to encounter challenges in life, it's really about how you take those challenges and turn it into a lesson for yourself, a lesson for others, and use it as a catalyst for change. And it sounds like Stuyvesant equipped you with the tools to understand how to do that. That's a life skill, right? We're all going to encounter adversity and people who are just ignorant. And so sometimes you really need to figure out what am I going to do with this information? Am I going to internalize it, allow it to impact my self-esteem, or am I going to use this as a learnable opportunity for the folks involved? So I just love that you were able to kind of turn it into a lesson for everyone. So with that, what has it been like to make friends? Like, I know personally, when I went to Bronx Science, I cried on the first day that I got there because of the lack of diversity. I said, Mommy, like, what are you doing? Why do you have me here? I did not do anything to deserve this. So I had a really twisted mindset around what diversity could look like, right? Diversity is not just about race. It's also about a variety of thoughts, a variety of perspectives, people who want to go different places. But most importantly, what I learned is you really want to make friends with people who are going in the same direction and who have the same interests as you. And that's a lesson that I learned very quickly because I love math, I love STEM, I love all the nerdy stuff. And I noticed very quickly that a lot of folks who look like me were not as interested. So I ended up making friends in other races. So what was that like for you to develop your friendship network? Has it been strictly Black and Brown students in the Black Students League and Aspira, or have you been able to navigate your way through all the different cultures?
I think it's exactly like you mentioned. One thing that I like to tell kind of like my friends and kind of the underclassmen that I mentor is that, the people you surround yourself with really matter. That energy that you get from people around you kind of reflects in yourself. So let's say you're interested in computer science. If you surround yourself with 5 other people who are also trying to make big waves in that field, you're going to be the 6th. I think that at least in my experience, some of my closest friends are in Aspira BSL, yes, but I have a lot of friends at Stuyvesant High School who aren't Black, who aren't Hispanic. One of my best friends, Adib, we kind of bonded together over this computer science class that we have. And now, even though he's Key Club president and brown, and I'm BSL president, Black, we kind of bonded with that, I guess, shared solidarity. And that friendship that we have is like really powerful because it'll motivate you to always do your best. And I think that's something that Stuyvesant is really good at. You'll surround yourself with these people who are, just change makers. We have a lot of people here. You have, musical conductors, you have professional sports players, you have people who are doing cancer research and making actual developments in those fields. And the fact of the matter is, those people aren't going to look like you most of the time. But that just shouldn't stop you from, making friends with them, setting up, even if you can, maybe like a friendly rivalry between you and them, making sure that, you stay, I guess, in competition with them. I don't want to promote competition, since that's like a big, thing here at Sty. People think that, if I go here, I'm going to be fighting with this person and the next over X, Y, and Z. But it really is friendly. It's nothing like, toxic or anything like that. The friendships that you make at Stuyvesant, I just want to reiterate, they're going to be varied in their nature. You're going to have brown friends, you're going to have Asian friends, you're going to have white friends, and you're most likely going to bond over the fields that you're interested in. For me and Adib, it was computer science. For me and my friend Raymond, it was just, our Black culture that we shared. So you shouldn't have any problem finding friends at STI.
I totally agree. And I just think that's the best opportunity to open your mind around what's possible and really get a chance to learn something new, meet someone new, and just think outside the box. So I love that. So I'm gonna, go back in time to when we were going through our prep process. You worked so hard, and I'm always so proud of you. But we got to the last hour, and I know that your parents were hesitant to make the decision to allow you to play Stuyvesant first. So we had several conversations. I had personally worked with you. So I saw your brilliance. I'm like, he needs to be at STI because I just feel like there are very few schools that are going to take exceptional talent and allow you to really maximize it and reach your full potential. And that's what you need at this stage. Like, right, if you have the capacity, the potential, the ability, I just believe that a school has a responsibility to catapult you into the highest version of yourself so you can achieve maximal success. But yes, it was a bit of a debate between me and you.
It was.
And we got it done. So now fast forward to now you're a senior, you're heading off to college. Can you just speak to, do you feel like you guys made the right decision? And what might life have been like if you didn't go to STI?
First of all, I'd like to say, no, I don't regret the decision to come to STI whatsoever. I think it was probably one of the best decisions that me and my parents have ever made. And I think that if you're in my shoes, kind of like looking at that sheet of paper when it's time to take the test, thinking, oh, do I really put STI first, or should I go with something else, something more friendly to my, I guess, demographic? I would say, go out of your comfort zone, put Stuyvesant first, because the opportunities that you're exposed to here are bar none. I would say without Stuyvesant, I wouldn't have started STI-FS, which is an organization that I created, which helps underrepresented kids from underrepresented backgrounds learn web development. I wouldn't have been incentivized like I was at STI to become a DEI student leader. I wouldn't have been told about the CCNY STEM Institute, which is basically the reason why I'm kind of at this event I am right now, being able to go to DC and present an app that I've created to Congress tomorrow. I think all of these opportunities that I've received are a direct result for either of the relationships that I've made at Stuyvesant or the opportunities that I've been exposed to here. And there's something to be said about the growth that comes as kind of a student, just looking to make your way, I guess, in the educational and academic world at STI, because like I said before, the support you just receive a world of support. It's like you have the world at your fingertips almost.
Thank you, John. So everything can't possibly be perfect. You did share a minor challenge that you encountered when you first got there, but what has been one of your biggest challenge navigating Stuyvesant High School? I'm sure it wasn't perfect. I have my moment when I was at Bronx Science. It was my AP US history course. I sucked at history and I couldn't pass those tests. So that was my moment to really regroup and have to figure out a better way to tackle things, how to make friends in that course, and not just hide behind math and science. So I was ultimately successful with probably like 85. But it was AP, so it was all good. So for you, what was your biggest challenge that you encountered at Stuyvesant?
So I'll just preface this by saying I'm the opposite of you. I am a rock star when it comes to kind of like the English-based stuff. So AP US history, AP world history, AP macroeconomics, I can bang it out like that. But when it came to my math courses, I would struggle a lot. And for my sophomore and my junior year, I got someone who is often regarded to be kind of like the hardest teacher in Stuyvesant High School for 4 semesters back to back to back to back. And I kind of just had to flail around and find my way to success, despite all the challenges that came with being in that class with that teacher. And, I won't lie, it was hard at first. The first test that I took in that class, I got a 32. And then after studying really hard for the second one, I got a 48.
Oh my God.
So clearly, I knew I had to do something about it. And I started attending that teacher's office hours. I made friends with a few kids in my class, and I made it a point to study for the tests in that class almost a week in advance. And by going to that teacher's office hours, I got to kind of like develop a relationship with that teacher. And, it came to be kind of like a support thing where whenever I was struggling with a concept in math, I didn't feel intimidated or afraid to go up and ask a question. I could always, raise my hand and say, hey, I didn't really understand this. Could you explain this again? And oftentimes when I did do that, I would have people come to me after class and tell me, hey, thanks for, saying that, because I was struggling with that too. So I would say that, that math class was a real challenge for me, especially in my sophomore year. But over time, through just, I guess, diligence and hard work, I was able to slowly raise my grade from the 80 that I had the first semester of my sophomore year to an 85 in the second semester in my sophomore year, to an 87 the first semester of my junior year, and then finally to a 90. So I'm really proud about my kind of like growth when it came to kind of just math at Stuyvesant High School. And while I'm not taking super advanced math courses like multivariable calculus or linear algebra right now, I'm doing just fine in AB, and I think there's something to be said for that.
There's a lot to be said because we're talking about growth, overcoming challenges, reaching out for help, aggregating the resources that you need to be successful. So all of that is a part of the skills that you're going to need to be successful in college and in life. So you were in a great middle school, and I'm sure there were several of your colleagues who were on this journey to getting into a top high school in New York City. But you made the leap towards Stuyvesant, and I'm sure there were some friends of yours who didn't get into Stuyvesant. They probably didn't even get into a specialized high school. So can you speak to some of the differences you've noticed between a student who has made into a specialized high school like yourself in terms of the types of access that you have from the types of courses, opportunities, things of that nature, versus what you've noticed about some of your friends who have not placed into a specialized high school?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just preface this by saying, if you go to a non-specialized high school, it's not the end of the road. It's not like, oh, woe is me, I can't succeed or anything like that. I know someone who didn't end up going to a specialized high school and currently it just got accepted to Yale, Cornell, and Dartmouth. So it really depends on, the work you put in yourself. But I can attest to the fact that going to a specialized high school does inevitably provide you with more access to certain things than going to your average high school would. So, for example, Stuyvesant High School is probably the biggest provider of AP exams in the city. We offer nearly every AP exam, and this year we were actually chosen by the College Board to have early access to the AP African American Studies course, which I'm currently taking right now. And that's just not a luxury that's afforded to a lot of other students in New York City. I have a few friends who didn't end up going to specialized high schools that wanted to take AP exams like AP Calculus BC, AP Physics C, even something as, seemingly bland as AP Drawing that just weren't provided the opportunity to take those exams because their school just doesn't offer them. And the process for signing up for AP exams that aren't offered at your school is really, really tedious and extremely ambiguous. So going to a school like Stuyvesant would allow you to essentially bypass that whole kind of gray area. And that's something that, you know, a lot of specialized high schools like Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech have in common with Stuyvesant.
Thank you for mentioning that, because definitely when I was at Duke, there were several students who were from New York, and they didn't necessarily go to a specialized high school, and we still ended up at Duke together. But I did notice, similar to what you said, some of the opportunities that were baked into the school, it made it way more accessible than what some of my peers had access to, what with not going to a specialized high school. So there's no one size fit all approach, but we love specialized high schools over here.
Absolutely.
We're going to continue to advocate. So thanks for that insight.
Yeah, it's actually a problem that, you know, I'm working to solve right now with a group kind of like that, I guess, unequal access to AP exams that I just provided an example of. We're actually making a kind of app right now that we're calling AP Genius, which will aim to, I guess, streamline that whole process of applying to AP exams outside of your own school. So, you know, while that unfortunately does exist right now as a kind of, you know, opportunity, I guess, at SCI, we're trying to, I guess, do what we can to make sure that, you know, certain AP exams and, you know, things are being offered to kids who aren't at specialized high schools, just kind of making it more equitable in general. So check out AP Genius, quick plug.
Love it. We will definitely be promoting. Let me know when it's done. So that brings me to my next question. Do you feel like Stuyvesant prepared you for college? And can you share some of the ways that you feel like you're ready to tackle this next chapter of your life?
Absolutely. So if you talk to a lot or any of the Stuyvesant students, one common trait that I think you'll start to notice is they prepare for things like very, very far in advance. So I know people who started studying for the SHSAT 2 years before the test, they actually had to take the test. And I know people who had to study for the SAT starting in freshman year when you take it in the second semester of your junior year. So one thing that I've kind of picked up from my peers here at Stuyvesant is the importance of starting things early. And I think because of that, I feel a lot more prepared for, you know, college and kind of higher academia than normally a lot of people would. I have kind of like this little plan I've etched out for the next 4 years of my life, depending on, you know, where I end up going. I won't say anything yet because I'm not committed to any school as of right now. But I do have some pretty good options, and I feel like, especially with the connections to those places that Stuyvesant High School offers. So I'll just list, for example, Cornell. There's a lot of Stuyvesant students and Stuyvesant faculty who teach or, you know, go on to take classes at Cornell. So you have already kind of a support network right there. And to just give another example, kind of just the kind of college prep / like guidance office here at SCI really tries to prepare you for that next stage in your life, making sure that you're considering things such as student debt, which is something that's really an epidemic in the world, honestly, right now. And just other things regarding like major choice, you know, location when it comes to the schools you're applying to, and just real world adult skills. In kind of theme with that, one thing that is offered at SCI as a class is actually personal finance. So in that class, you actually learn, you know, how to pay your taxes, which is, you know, something that's not taught in school.
That is typically
amazing. They teach you, yeah. You learn how to pay your taxes. You learn how to budget properly, how to, you know, put down money inside of a Roth IRA, which is something that I didn't know about I didn't even know something like that existed until my friends who were in that class told me about it. So I would definitely say Stuyvesant does an excellent job at preparing you for, whatever stage you happen to go to next. And I am, looking at my future with confidence, knowing that, with the strategies and kind of mindset that I've gained from my school, I think I'm a little bit ahead of the bell curve in a sense. And I think that's kind of put me in a position to succeed.
That is awesome. And I did not get to take personal finance at Bronx Science. Okay. So talking about student loan debt, I have shared this, that going to Duke, it cost me $143,000, including interest. That's a lot.
Mhm.
And as much as I'm super proud of myself, I paid it off in 7 years. It really threw a wrench in my 20s. And it's just something that I don't want for you guys. So I love that you're having the conversation. I'm not anti-name brand schools. I'm not even anti-paying for a school. But I do think you need to be aware of what your plans are going to be post-graduation, because there needs to be a return on investment. So if I spend $50,000 for the school in total, I better be making 6 figures or choosing a college major and or a career path that's going to position me for that. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yep.
And that conversation was not really clearly had before I went into college. So I'm really happy to hear that Stuyvesant's providing that kind of support and helping you guys to be realistic about this next phase of your life, and really making very important decisions. Okay. So that's really, really good. So that brings me to my last question. A lot of our students are working really hard and they are wanting to be in the position that you're in right now. So what would you tell a 7th grader heading on to 8th grade to be able to secure a seat at Stuyvesant High School?
Well, you got to be diligent. You got to stick with your practice. I remember, like I mentioned before in my video, it took me 26 practice tests to land a spot at Stuyvesant High School. So I'd say, if I was able to do it, you can too. It just takes a lot of hard work. It takes, discipline, and it takes a little bit of, courage. Just believe in yourself, believe that you can do it. And, once you do get here, because, it's not if, it's will. As long as you do your work, it's will. Keep your eyes open to all the myriad of opportunities that are around you. Once you step your foot in the door, it's really just the beginning. There's so many things for you to get involved with, so many ways for you to get active in your community. You can join the Key Club like my friend Adib did in his freshman year. You could join the Red Cross, or you could even join BSL if you, represent one of, if you're a Black or Latino student yourself. There's just an infinite amount of things to do. And, maybe you don't find your thing at Stuyvesant, right? You can always create it. So I know some people who created the Genshin Impact Club at Sci, which is like a video game that just got really popular in the past few years, that people are, making clubs and having real meetings about. There's clubs for Uno, there's clubs for Xbox appreciation, and even weightlifting. So, I think that as long as you practice, you'll get here. And once you're here, that's when you put the practice that you put in into play.
Thank you so much, John. That was absolutely amazing. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to continue our series on interviewing students, Black and Brown students who are currently attending specialized high schools, just learn a little bit more about their experience. So make sure you stay tuned for the next video. Toodles.